Max Elhash here. On this episode of the Corpus Animus podcast, I have my friends and training think tank coaches Mia Gianelli and Mike McGoldrick on to talk about the Rogue Invitational. We talk about each of the workouts, what we thought about them. We talk about some of Noah's prep, and we talk about our excitement of just having competitions back in action. If you're on the go and you want to listen to just the audio version, subscribe to the Corpus Animus podcast on your favorite podcast app. Get better at the sport of CrossFit alongside some of the best athletes in the world in our online training program, The Design. Head over to our website, trainingthinktank.com/DSGN to learn more.
Pretend I didn't see it.
They made her thing big the whole time while she was cleaning it. I was like, leave her alone. There's a bunch of other girls.
That will have to go in the broadcast portion of this.
Yeah. So, all right. So today we're talking about the Rogue Invitational. We thought it'd be a fun episode to go over and recap basically what we thought of the events, basically the breakdown of the events, give a quick review of some of them, the construction of the workouts, the broadcast and the format of a competition that we've never seen before, and then go into some of the results and the performances that we thought really stood out.
Your ability with these microphones is amazing.
Thanks, man.
On point.
I have a good teacher.
Is that Chris?
Yeah. Yep. Chris is a great coach.
I thought it was so impressive how legit it looked.
Yeah.
Like from the online platform, how the scores were all live and pretty.
Don't get ahead of our outline, Mia.
Yeah, we're getting to that, Mia.
Okay. I'll keep my opinions to myself.
No, I agree. I mean, it was like run very.
That backfired. Yeah. I don't look like a major asshole.
Yeah, you're such a bully. I know. Let her finish the sentence. All right. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, like, no doubt, Rogue just does everything with, like, top-notch quality, like, from their equipment. And this isn't, like, a Rogue-sponsored episode or anything. Like,
we don't get anything from Rogue for free.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, I wasn't surprised at all. And honestly, like, that was kind of my expectation is those guys just deliver. Like, when they make something and put their name on it, it's just done professionally.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So, anyway, we'll come back to some of those points. But diving into some of the events. So, actually just had the events pulled up. Here we go. So event one, and I like talking through construction of workouts because it's just fun to me.
Yeah.
Like, where did they come up with the rep schemes? I don't know, obviously, but like, I think just like seeing how it was well written. So event one, starting with 21 thrusters, 21 burpee pull-ups, 15 thrusters, 15 burpee pull-ups, 9 thrusters, 9 burpee pull-ups, increasing weights. This looked cool to me because I thought it was kind of a play off the one they did at the Rogue Invitational last year with the deadlift burpee pull-ups. A little bit of the rep scheme there.
Way worse.
Yeah,
this for sure.
Tough workout. Yep. This also was very similar to one of our throwdown workouts. Yep. It was thrusters, chest to bar, but the increasing weight, 135 or 95, 185, 125, 205, 145. Those are some heavy thrusters to end this workout.
Yep. Are you saying you predicted it?
No, I'm not. But Kyle Ruth did say that, but he's generally like an ego fluffer. So he made me feel like I had predictive qualities, but
is that why you keep him around?
Yeah, it's just for my ego.
He's the only one that builds you up.
Yes.
When you first saw this one, what was your expectation on how fast someone would finish it?
Yeah, you know what? To be honest, I wasn't really sure. I didn't know what type of a burpee pull-up strategy would be optimal, and if you would have to do a burpee and then do a kipping pull-up, or if you would be jumping into the pull-up. I didn't know how high the bar height had to be. I know that they were discussing trying to make sure that everybody had an equal height pull-up bar for everything, but after watching it, I know Tia Toomey had like a pad underneath her pull-up bar, and she was doing a burpee, stepping up to the pad and then jumping up. Yeah. So I'm assuming her bar wasn't at the same height as everyone else's.
I think a lot of girls had the pad down there.
Oh, so they were. It might have been a fixed height for everyone, for girls and guys, and you just allowed a pad.
I think so.
Okay. Yes, because a lot of people like watching Colton Mertens versus Patrick Vellner do them. He was like Colton was like having to jump up there.
Yeah. And then also I wasn't 100% sure if they would be changing their own weights or how that would happen. So I didn't really have any prediction. More so I was thinking about what's going to be the breakup strategy of these reps, like 15 thrusters at 185 after doing 21 and 21. Mm-hmm. That sounded like, okay, that's going to be like the real crux of the workout. And I know Noah and Will both were thinking that they might be able to do that in 2 sets, but then after watching, almost everybody was 3 or 4 sets on that 185 bar. It seemed to be a big separator.
Yeah, it's a lot of work on the front end, like going from the 21 and the 21 and then going back to a set of 15 heavy like that. Like from doing the throwdown we did a few weeks ago, you just know how it feels going back to a heavy bar when you're already pretty metabolically taxed, especially like that quick right off the bat.
Yeah.
This is the one event I didn't watch because I was running the throwdown. Max wasn't helping me. He was watching the event.
Yeah, I did. I finished
don't have any thoughts.
I didn't do any judging in the throwdown too. I did my workout and was like, can you judge him so I can go watch this? Stefan was like, oh, you don't want to judge me? I was like, I'm sorry. I'm a bad person.
Something that stood out to me on that one, or I wouldn't say stand out, kind of like confirmed my thought on what would happen was we were actually out of town watching it, and Brandy had it playing in the background, and I wasn't watching the video, I was listening. And I yelled, "Is Colt Mertens going yet?" And she was like, "He's going right now." And I was like, "I bet that guy's going to win this one," because that dude is like a thruster pull-up burpee machine. I've watched him compete a lot in the past, and it was pretty cool to see him stand out on that one.
Yeah, I've seen him at Granite Games too, crush like the D-ball handstand push-up workout. He just has like anthropometrics that are really, really good for certain movements.
Yeah, we were watching on the video, and I was like, "It looks like he's not locking out." I'm like, "That's his range of motion. Like, it's insane just how like fast his thrusters are."
Yeah. All right, so that's workout number 1.
Yeah.
Workout number 2 was a 2-part scored event. In the first 4 minutes, 50 power snatches for time, 95-65. Then that had a 4-minute cap. And then at the 5-minute mark, starting with death by power snatches.
Oh.
So every minute you start with 11 power snatches. In minute 5, then minute 6, it goes 12. Minute 7, it goes 13, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, increasing by 1 until you fail.
Sam Briggs is my hero.
Oh my gosh.
Not surprised at all, though.
No,
like, she's a power snatching hinging machine.
I thought it was so
insane.
mean that they didn't tell her that she had won the event and she had to do another minute. I was like, just let her stop.
Know. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
How many? I think they said it was 200 something total snatches that she did over the course of that.
Yeah,
window.
it was like deep into the 200s if you included the 50 at the beginning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. They brought up, I think Spieler and Josh Bridges programmed the event, and they brought them up, and they were like, yeah, you know, we took into consideration that these workouts would be constructed in a way that they wouldn't be too taxing and people can go back to their regular training. I'm like, man, that's a lot of rest.
Yeah.
These workouts are pretty tough.
It was a lot of pulling throughout the weekend, for sure.
For sure. That workout, things that stood out for me were really just Sam Briggs, I think, was the primary thing. I thought
insane.
I thought the guys would get a little bit deeper into the reps, but it seemed like the power output of that 50 for time right off the bat seemed to affect them more than it affected
Why
the girls.
do you think that's the case?
I'm not sure. Men are a weaker gender. Is that where you were going?
Probably right. No, I was asking a genuine question.
Yeah, I think some of that has to do with just body weight, right? Like if your upper body weighs, 30 more pounds than a female and you're hinging that many times, you're just distributing more energy over the course of the period of time, even if you're getting the same amount of work done or same time on a workout. So I think the power output of just moving a bigger body and a slightly heavier barbell in the same amount of time is just more power output. So their systems just are having a harder time coping with that.
Yeah, I thought it was I love the grid setup where you could watch everyone go, especially when they started with the 50 per time. Because like as someone who loves talking about barbell cycling, it was the coolest display, an example of different styles that all the different athletes had. Like some doing the basically like muscle snatch method where they have like super strong shoulders and external rotation. They're able to just like rotate the bar up versus some that were kind of like power snatching and brushing on the way down. Like Noah had a mix of that. Anyways, it was just like really cool to finally like get to see like all the best all at once doing this and seeing how different they are.
Another thing that I thought was awesome about this workout specifically is you never really see the best of the best in a movement breakdown perspective when they're doing like a 4-time workout. Generally, they're getting through the end of the workout and like spilling over just as it finishes, just as they cross through the line. But in a workout like this, in a death by, when you're actually going past your limit, you saw a lot of the best just default into some really bad patterns, just trying to figure out how to get the reps done. So I thought it was really cool for other people to see like, yeah, you might emphasize movement quality in training. The best coaches might be out there pointing to their best athletes being like, oh, look how they look when they do Metcons. That's what you should aspire to. But when you actually put them in a testing scenario that they have to go to failure, almost everyone is going to break down like that.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool to see that.
Yeah, that's a good point. You never see that. You never see them push beyond their like mechanical limit for the most part because the workout's done or whatever.
Yeah. And the testing structure doesn't, like their training demands are almost
Yeah.
higher than their testing demands. But in a workout like this, it's like, well, you're going to failure, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going to
And then
stop.
you have to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Man.
I thought that was pretty cool. And also maybe a little bit mean for the athletes.
Yeah, that
All
was
right.
definitely a mentally tough one,
Yeah.
especially with opening up with like a max effort sprint.
Yeah, Sam Briggs, well done. That
Yep.
was very impressive. Workout 3 for time, 240 double unders with the heavy rope immediately into 2 rounds of 60 toes to bar and then 30 or 24 calories on the Echo bike. That's workout number 3.
Yeah, that's a lot of toe to bar.
Yeah, I think that
Big
was
sets.
yeah. After watching that workout, it seemed primarily like a toes to bar workout. That was a workout that I thought the double unders would play a bigger role in the shoulders and breaking people down, but it seemed like they all kind of got through that in the
Yeah.
same amount of effort, same amount of time.
It did look like it was a taxing buy-in, though.
Yeah, super hard for everyone, but it just
Yeah.
didn't seem. Maybe the separation was in the people that were more efficient just lasted better after it, but
Right.
it didn't seem like a huge time
Right.
separator just
Yeah.
watching it.
Yeah, I think it's cool to see too, like some of those that have the ability to still excel and hold good endurance on toe to bar past like the 100 rep mark. Cause that's usually like around where at the elite level, like where it's kind of starts to break down and separate a little bit. And like you saw those kind of pull away that were able to basically like in the second set still continue to hold bigger sets.
Yeah, and it's pretty dense. So if you do 60 and then 30 cals or 24 cals, let's say like a minute to a minute and a half. So you're doing 60 reps, minute and a half of pretty hard work, and then right back into another 60 reps. Ends up being pretty dense. That was something. So we talked about strategy with Noah specifically. And he was like, I'm going to do 5 sets of 12 throughout. And I remember watching, and they had and I thought, okay, well, he's really good at toes to bar. It's a good break strategy. You know, that's somewhere he can take advantage versus other athletes on gymnastic stuff. And then watching him side by side versus Vellner, and Vellner was doing sets of 6, chalking up, right back up. And it was a very, very clear illustration of it's not the set size that you do, but it's the how fast you can get through the work, which is sometimes doing smaller work chunks and just doing the reps faster with
speed
quicker
contraction.
breaks. Yeah.
Did he hold those 12s the whole time?
I think he did until like it was hard because the live stream at some points would like go in on
Yeah.
one person. So you kind of lose touch with the exact rep cadence, but I think he held 12s until like the second or third set in the second set of 60.
Pretty
toes to
impressive
bar.
to be able to hold linear sets on a movement like that. Like
Yeah.
Usually there's
Yeah.
more breakdown even at the higher level.
Yeah, it's one of his, I guess, highest skilled movements, I would
It's
say.
one of his best qualities.
His toes to bar.
What kind of rope? I know it was a heavy rope, but was it like the heavy? That's not the Zeus. What is
No,
the
it
rope
wasn't
one?
the Zeus.
It was a heavy handle and a heavy cable.
Okay.
what they said.
Yeah,
Was
that
it the
is
metal one?
Yeah, I think that actually would be
Oh
the
man,
Zeus one.
that one's brutal. That 240 of those would destroy your grip.
Yeah, really tough. And then I always like workouts that end with calories on a machine. I feel like there's nowhere to hide at that point. You just have to go as hard as you possibly can. And there's generally no like muscular limitation, like a handstand push-up or a toes to bar or something like that. So it's good to see that they did that.
They had multiple
Yeah, they
events
did
that
that
were
twice.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that's event 3. That was the end of day 1.
Yep.
Where was Noah after that?
I think he was in 3rd. I think he was. I remember looking at the leaderboard and he was in 7th or 6th, but they hadn't updated everything. And then he sent me a new screenshot, and I think it was Vellner, then Jacob Hepner, and then him, and then Chandler to finish day 1.
Yeah. What about on the women's side? I didn't pay attention to the standings after day 1, but
Tia was always in first, I think.
yeah, Jamie Green was up there as well.
I will admit that I spend less time watching the females in the competition just because I didn't have a horse in the race. So it's not purely misogynistic. All right, so day 1 complete. Workout number 4 to start day 2 was 4 time. And this first part was a tiebreaker, which we can talk about. 7 clean and jerks at 255 or 165. Then that had a 1 minute time cap. Then you had a 5-minute rest, and then there was a clean and jerk liftoff. So the men started at 290, the women started at 195. You had 1 minute to lift, then a 3-minute rest, and then every single interval, the men went up by 10 pounds and the women went up by 5 pounds until failure. And you could take multiple lifts inside of that 1 minute. So if you missed your clean and jerk, you could wait until the end of the minute. As long as your lift started before the 1 minute window was up, it was okay.
This was a really fun event to watch.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I was kind of upset about is I felt like that 7 clean and jerks for time being a tiebreaker was kind of just like a waste. It should have either been its own event or like the tiebreaker should have been at the end.
Yeah, it's a different skill and a different element. Like I just thought when I first saw that and didn't realize it was the tiebreak, I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like what a cool test, like your repeatability, like, high turnover on a pretty heavy load like that. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
And then I learned it was tiebreak and I was like, oh,
yeah,
it's kind of real. Just clean and jerk 10 more pounds.
Yeah.
Did you talk to Noah about how hard you recommended he went on that?
Yeah, we did talk about it. I think I'll get back to the question, but one thing that really highlighted was, I don't know if the weight selection there was wrong or if girls are just better at barbell cycling, but there was like 5 girls who touch and go'd all 7 lifts.
Yeah.
And there was no guys that touch and go'd all of them. I know Chandler and Vellner opened up with a touch and go set, but really even after touch and going them, they ended up being relatively close no matter what by the end of the 7 reps, even versus the people that did singles. So I don't know if what does that math come out to? 165 over 255. 165 divided by 255 is 64.7%.
Oh yeah, that's pretty light.
Yeah, it's a little
I think
too
it should
low,
be.
I think
it should be 10% higher than that now because the women nowadays seem to be handling a higher percentage of what the comparison used to be way faster. Like we saw that this year with the deadlift, handstand, push up, open workout.
Yeah.
Watching like the elite women just like destroy the 205 bar. Yeah. It just looks like a toy now.
Yeah. So to get back to your question, I texted with Noah a little bit. So he was thinking that, he was not upset with his day one performance, but he felt the general consensus in his head and kind of when he was justifying how day one went is he was like, if those were normal training days and I put out that output, I would have felt really good about it. I would have felt like I executed, like I did a really good job. But then afterwards, when you see the scores and you see how people went and you think about like how hard you went into the workouts, you know that you left a little bit more in the tank. So there was a thought about how aggressive to pick strategies going into day 2. And he asked me originally, do you think he should do some touch and goes? And at first I was thinking, well, let's go more aggressive. Let's open up with a touch and go set. Maybe it's open up with 3, then go to singles or do 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. But the key when you do that is to get your hands down to the bar after the jerk as quickly as possible. Because if you do a set of 4 touch and go, drop it, and then take 6 seconds, you're essentially wasting any of the time you save from touch and go. Then he sent me the video of his training attempt at doing that. And they looked a little bit labored to think that he'd be able to keep his movement speed high. So we were just like, hey, go for a bigger clean and jerk and don't worry too much. Go fast singles and just see where you end up on the tiebreaker.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was, again, cool. Would have liked to have seen it. I think out of all of them, that's like my only critique would have been like, just make that an independent score.
Yeah, or take it out or something like that. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of that one part.
Was the tiebreak applied to many people? Like, did they have to go to a tiebreak on scoring wise?
Yeah, there were. There were a bunch of people. Like
there were a bunch of guys at 350.
Yeah, there were like
2 at 360.
Yeah, and there were a pretty good amount at 340 as well. So the tiebreaker did actually play a role, but still.
All right.
Yeah. Hold on. Highlights of that.
Get the point.
2 highlights of that. Tia clean and jerk in 270.
Oh my God.
And she is not easy. Big.
That was insane.
Yeah. That's super impressive. And then Chandler's clean and jerk at, was it 360?
360.
Yeah.
The commentary, I was just laughing the whole time. That was so entertaining.
Not even the commentary, but also the comments, like the comments running on the right-hand side. I was programming on one computer screen and my other computer screen had it playing. So I had the actual screen of the workout and then the comment thread on the right-hand side. I was like, I shouldn't be reading these comments.
I love Bergner's open honesty.
Yeah.
It's like, I've been here long enough. I'm going to say what I want and just get to the point. And it was hilarious. It was awesome. He's like, well, that was just bad.
But he always follows it up with praise. Like, oh, he's just so strong.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I would say about that is there's definitely technical stuff to clean up. I would say, I mean, it's a hard discussion to have because he won the clean and jerk event. Right. So it's like, all right, well, his performance level is better than everybody else in the competitive field. How do you tell somebody or have a discussion with somebody and be like, well, you won, but you need to be better? It's a weird thing to have. I would say more so, I look at it more as like a safety thing. Like if you want to have longevity, the catch position of the clean being on one toe, the wrist position of the front rack, maybe like Bergner had mentioned, widening the hands. There's definitely some technical stuff to clean up, but I know I've had enough discussions with Chandler to know that A, he thinks about it, and B, his anthropometrics make it really hard to get into a front rack position just in general. And he's had some wrist injuries and stuff like that. So it could just be, hey, he doesn't train like that on a regular basis. And that's just what happens when he defaults into competitive intensity. Yeah.
They kept saying like, if he had better strategy or better movement, he could be in the 400, but does he need to be? Like he already won with.
Yeah. And do you take that risk of trying to drive a weightlifting metric up that high on potentially potentially dangerous patterns when you can do enough to win an event against a competitive field and not necessarily train past your threshold?
Right.
What was that?
Yeah. A voice from the audience.
Sounded like a squawk.
Event 5.
I want to know what Matt Frazier gets in that one.
Oh, what he would clean and jerk?
Yeah.
What did Chandler
What are your
clean and jerk?
guesses?
360?
Yeah, he
370?
hit 360. I think Matt
Lucas
Frazier
almost cleaned 370.
Yeah.
His first attempt, he got caught maybe a quarter of the way up.
Man, so Frazier hit 385 at the games last year? 380 last year, and then there's a video of him jerking 415. So I would think that he would definitely have the capacity to clean and jerk 370 and win that event.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He wasn't in the field.
He wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so that was event 4 with the tiebreaker. Then event 5 was a chipper. It was 4-time 40 cal row, 30 D-ball squat cleans with 100 or 70 pounds, 20 box step overs with that D-ball on the shoulder, 40 strict handstand push-ups, 20 box step overs with the D-ball, then 30 dumbbell squat cleans or D-ball squat cleans, then 40 cal row. So it basically goes up and down the ladder of movements.
This was probably my favorite workout that was programmed.
Of course it was.
Step overs.
There's 40 straight handstand push-ups.
Would you say that you're built to step up?
I guess. That's what I've been told. But you know what I'm not built to do is handstand push-ups.
Yeah, that's true.
Why is this your favorite?
Well, the creativity of the movements. It's movements we've seen, but with a different element in there with the D-ball, squat cleans, and the step overs. I thought that was cool. And then Annie talked a lot about this when she was commenting on it, but the tall versus short thing, like it was a pretty evenly matched workout for different body types. I like workouts like that. I think they're cool to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, for sure. Amanda Barnhart impressed me on that one a lot with her strict handstand push-up speed. Yeah. I was expecting her to be slower on that. And I know she's super strong, but you can't make that argument for all taller athletes because being strong in your shoulders doesn't always translate over to being good at strict handstand push-ups. It's a phenomenon of a movement. It actually made me want to sit down and continue to rethink how I train that movement versus just hitting certain endurance protocols and barbell strength to drive up shoulder strength. It's just so different of a movement relative to other shoulder intensive style movements.
Yeah, I think the actual pressing position when you're closed kinetic chain and your hands are on the ground versus closed kinetic chain when your feet are on the ground and you're pressing. They're just something is different about your spine angle and your thoracic angle and your scapula angle that I feel like if you want to be good at handstand push-ups or hand balancing, you have to be on your hands.
Yeah.
Where having a good strict press or something like that might help, but your body lines just end up being a little bit too non-efficient.
There are a lot of other things as well that that change the movement that make it not unfair or unequal across the board, but definitely different. So the friction of the wall, the density of the mat you're pressing from make a huge difference in your ability to rep out and rebound off the floor, which is like very important, I think. So I would say like, not necessarily a critique, but like it would have been cool to see it standardized some way. Like, I don't know what they would ship out. They're not going to like send plexiglass, but
that was
maybe
probably the
mat
only
standard
thing that wasn't standardized, right?
Yeah,
Pretty
otherwise
much,
I think it was pretty good.
Equipment-wise,
Yeah, I agree with that point. Mia had told me, so in the Open last year, Mia dominated me on the handstand push-ups.
I dominated you in every workout, except for the muscle up one.
but most notably the one with the handstand push-up.
The one that I remember the most was handstand push-ups. And she was like, you don't bounce off your head enough. And I was like, what? And it actually is a real thing that you can get a little bit of a rebound off of your head when doing handstand push-ups. But now I train them at home on a wooden platform where it's purely.
Do you get splinters in your head?
No, I don't. I just gently graze my head on the pads because I have wonderful kinesthetic awareness and know exactly when to change directions. I can't hear you. I have these damn microphones on.
I can't hear you either every time you turn this way.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to correct you.
Yeah.
Like,
You're a bad friend.
Yeah.
And it does make a difference too when you do that and then you come back and do it then on a bouncy pad. It can make a big difference.
Yeah, that rebound and being able to basically change direction really quickly is a huge advantage on strict handstand push-ups. And I've seen people struggle with that over the years of trying to get better at them. They go down and you control yourself too much, which sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like I hate as like a coach, trying
Safety.
to make people fitter.
Bounce your neck better.
Yeah. I get it. That sounds ridiculous, but in sport, like it's something that you're just a risk you're gonna have to deal with, and you need like a stronger neck to be able to handle the stresses of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, not to go like too long winded on that, but I liked the movements in that workout. I thought it was really cool seeing like the dumbbell squat clean, seeing how many athletes did it differently. You know, like Katrin going very like hip hinge to the ground, touch and go reps.
Yeah.
Which she made it look like so light. And then I saw some that were doing singles and it looked like super heavy. Yeah. I don't know if something also too is like a lot of these athletes are fresh out of quarantine, some still in it. I don't know if they've been hitting this level of volume, but like you could see like some of the fatigue setting in on some of these workouts where normally they would just like rip through movements. So I'm imagining that a lot of athletes in this workout dealt with a ton of lower back blow up.
Yeah. Yeah. There was the one guy at the end of, I think, Heat 1. I forgot his name, but you could tell that his back or something was blown up pretty good from that.
Yeah.
And they did all those power snatches and max lifting the work. They did the power snatches the day before and the max lifting right before that workout. These workouts,
good thing they only had deadlifts next.
Yeah. I thought was something that stood out to me that was insane was I'm pretty sure it was Sarah. I believe the time it took her to do the handstand push-ups was like 90 seconds.
Wow.
Which was blazing fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing too, so that was I guess an execution error that was pretty visible on Noah's part. Mm-hmm. He seemed to make a lot of time up on the handstand push-ups, and then he did those dumbbell stepovers unbroken on the way back up, and then he blew up on the cleans. Yeah. And the blow up was he would drop the ball, take 2 or 3 steps back away from the ball, go back up. Little things like that. It's almost like barbell cycling.
Where's Brandon right now? You need to tell him the time he was losing.
Yeah, time lost. Time gained.
Noah's blowing up when he does his little inflate. He backs up and Noah inflates.
Oh yeah, I've never noticed that.
Yeah. And his shoulders rise up off of his body. All right, so that was event 5. Any other notable things on that one?
I just thought it was cool.
All right. Event 6, the final. 21:15.9 deadlifts, overhead squats. Weights were 275 for the guys, 185 for the girls. Overhead squats was 155 for the guys, 105 for the girls.
I love this one. I think it's a great barbell cycling workout. I know that it's a lot of barbell cycling through the weekend, but they're limited to a 6-foot box. So you're just kind of running out of movements. But I think this is like a classic old .com workout, I'm pretty sure. And I'm pretty sure I've done this like twice.
Yeah, I think it's 225, 135, the classic .com one, because I've done that workout before a bunch of times. I think they just upped the weights a little bit.
This is the upgraded Rogue Invitational version. But
I thought
it was
Noah
cool.
executed this one probably the best workout, in my opinion.
Yeah, so we talked about that ahead of time too. He had proven, I think it was, what was the deadlift, handstand push-up, deadlift, handstand walk workout from the Open? Was that 18 point or
18.3 that was repeated this past year.
Yeah. Okay. So that workout, Noah put up a world-class score and he broke the deadlifts up way more. And his just deadlift speed, I don't know, for whatever his limb proportions are and the way that he goes through eccentric is faster than most people. So I was like, look, just break it up quick. You have great overhead squats. So we basically came to the same strategy. And I think he took advantage of his overhead squat stability and just how quickly he transitioned there and his deadlift speed.
Yep.
And I thought he did super well. But then when I saw Colton Merton's score from the first heat, I was like, wow, guy must have crushed this workout.
I mean, his limb length is just crazy. It's an outlier in the sport.
Yeah, there's always going to be those.
Yeah, this was a workout that was just built for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Tia's continued dominance in that one as well. Super impressive. You give someone who's amazing at a barbell more barbell, they're going to continue to excel. It was insane.
Yeah, she's pretty fit and pretty good.
Yeah, I thought, I agree with that. Watching Noah do it and execute, I know that it was like between him and Chandler, basically like a race to finish on podium, right? And I remember thinking like Noah's overhead squats, like the guy's like an overhead squat champ. Like he's so good at them. And I was like, if he can just manage the deadlift fatigue and like speedy contraction just won in that one. And that's the same case of doing the lighter version from what I remember. Even the 225, breaking it up and holding on to basically unbroken sets of the overhead squats made you really fast in that workout.
Yeah, you don't realize, well, you can realize if you watch that. Same thing with handstand push-ups in the previous workout. So they showed some people do handstand push-up, stop at the top, go down. That same pattern is oftentimes used with overhead squats where you squat down, squat up, stand up, then go down. If you can just cycle them straight up and down, the speed of getting through the reps becomes just way faster.
Yep, I agree. So overall, the results, not a major surprise, I guess. I thought it was really interesting. You guys want to dive into the results? Yeah. So I thought it was really interesting. Tia and Patrick Vellner had the same point total overall and the same gap between first and second place. So very clear who's in dominant shape right now.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the leaderboard, I thought Sarah, I mean, obviously is still super rounded throughout a weekend, still trying to figure out what's the separating factor, what's the thing she has to find to like start to close the gap. But like, I don't know. I mean, even if Sarah's continuing to get better right now, Tia clearly seems to be also getting better. So the gap is increasing, which is just scary to think.
It seems like, even Vellner has proven, aside from the games last year where he missed the cut with the sprint and stuff, that he's just a great competitor and that he's really good at a lot of different things. And he seems to be in a pretty elite class of somebody who can compete with Frazier. And then after that, you have like BKG, Noah, as the podium and Chandler, where they're just basically going to have to go back, look at this and try to figure out like, what do I need to do to get better and close that gap? And I think that's true for all of the females. There's a bigger pack of females behind Tia that's kind of very close together that needs to really address like, what do I need to do to beat somebody like this? Because she's just good at everything, really good at everything.
It's only going to get harder though, because when you get back into the real world and you can swim and run, I mean, good luck.
I was going to ask, I mean, I think the top would have been the same, maybe the top three for the most part, but how different would everything else been shuffled had the events had, a little more, if it wasn't so inclusive to like just barbell and like, a couple of gymnastics movements. Because it was, if you're strong and great at barbell cycling, it's a really good weekend for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is, it seems like, Noah, BKG, and Vellner. So Vellner's been on the podium, I think, twice or three times at the games. BKG's been on the podium twice or three times at the games. Noah's been second, fourth, sixth at the games. On the female side, Tia's obviously won 3 times. Sarah has been third twice, and in the running, who took third?
Cara Saunders.
Cara.
So Cara's taken second, and I think that's her only podium finish, and then she's been like fourth and sixth.
Yeah, she's been right in there.
Yeah, speaking of her, I think she was.
Yeah, I was
going to
come back to that.
Yeah, maybe one of the most impressive things that I saw. Is that she had to do the workouts all like overnight because they coordinated it so that everybody could be doing it at the same time. And then coaching Brandy now in a post-pregnancy
gives you
state
perspective on it.
Gives a real perspective on what it takes to try to make a body that's just given birth to a baby and make it back into competitive shape. And she is really fit, and she did it really quickly.
Yeah,
so I'm
that's
super impressed with that.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, obviously with her qualifying for the games through the Open, being that close after giving birth is just insane. But then even being able to have the resiliency just shows so much of like what this woman's made of. Like, she's super incredible.
Yeah,
I was blown away by that. I was like, man, I mean, as a coach, I'm always looking at those things, and I tend to come up with reasons of why someone would perform bad to try and help them avoid that.
Yeah.
And I see the thing of having to train in the middle of the night, handling a child, like all that stuff. And I'm like, she's going to get like eaten up by it. And I'm like, I don't know why I doubted her by any means. Like, she blew it away. It's unbelievable. So, a lot of props there for sure.
Super solid. So that's all the scores, broadcast stuff. I thought that was awesome. I thought the announcers did a great job. I really love the format. I've had conversations when the CrossFit staff had a media team. I've talked to the media team and asked, why don't you have any sort of a broadcast that just shows the whole field? Because obviously you got a bunch of Matt Frazier fans or a bunch of Rich Froning fans, but a lot of the people in the field have their own fan bases. They own gyms, they have their own groups, and they get no publicity on the media.
The comments are lined up with people complaining about that.
Yeah, so this was pretty cool. I think it would be nice to like maybe have all of that. Like, it seemed like there was a lot of empty space where maybe you could have had the leader as a portion that was a little bit bigger, or whoever they were talking about, and then left all of the other people up. And I think that might be something just moving forward as a sport that they do, even in a field of, in-person athletes. It would just be really nice to be able to see everyone. But I thought that was awesome. I thought for a digital competition done for the first time, the organization, some cool things, like they weren't allowed to have music, and there was no screaming, no cheering, so that.
But could people be there?
Yeah, people could be.
Yeah,
people could.
Did you see Ben Smith's video of him doing the clean and jerks? Obviously, they made it. I don't know why the no cheering was a rule. Just audio.
I think they wanted to hear the judges count or something. I'm not really entirely sure why they did that, or they didn't want the audio picked up on the broadcast.
Yeah, this video is hilarious. It's on Ben Smith's Instagram. He does a clean and jerk, and then the camera, like whoever's filming him on their phone, they like turn and pan, and there's all these people in the background going. It was so funny.
The silent aggression.
Yeah, they just look fired up. But yeah, I mean, very different element. But I don't want to say like it had to be difficult for the athletes, because you had the best prep for this kind of leading into it if you've been training in isolation for the most part.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Will did say that it definitely changed his psychology, just being able to hear every one of his breaths and not have loud music to stimulate him. So I'm sure it played a role, but good competitors, you just
doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, like the playing field's level, and it's just like they're going to figure out what to do and how to get it done.
Yeah, I don't think anyone there at that event was bitching or complaining about like, oh, I can't turn my music on.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're like, whatever. Like, I'm here to do my job.
Did you talk to Noah or Will about judging and how that went? How the judging experience was?
The only thing that I know is that they actually sent Noah a judge from Baltimore. So I thought it would just be somebody local.
Yeah.
I don't know who's Will's judge was, but I thought it was pretty amazing that they budgeted in somebody's full travel expenses to send them to another place to judge. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I think that's putting your money where your mouth is on you wanting to professionalize and make the sport, equal across the board. Paying someone to actually do that on an event that I don't know how they made money in this event.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So, I mean, anyway.
I mean, they definitely had sponsors.
Yeah, sponsors. But point being is like, that's stuff that they could have just easily cut costs on.
Yeah.
With like travel and logistics and everything right now. I was joking. I'm like, man, it would suck if you had a shitty judge or someone who like didn't like you. You're like there with the whole weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah. What was the next point on our little guidepost?
That little bar that showed how far they were going.
Oh yeah, the bar,
like the boat race kind of. Yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool as well. It just gave perspective on like where the race was. So
I really liked that, especially on the fast one, like the 50 power snatch for time. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
Yeah, how did they do that too? Did they must have had like counters watching each person and clicking them in real time.
There had to have been more people there than we saw to make that work, I think.
Yeah,
really impressive.
I think this could lead into what are some things that you saw from this that you would like to see maybe applied to like the Open or other online competitions that maybe like more sanctionals could kind of like make fair qualifying.
I mean, I think the professionalization of standards, I feel like in a qualifier style workout, it would be nice to set, hey, this is how the workout needs to be set up. So that way everyone has the same exact transition and there's less gaming the setup. But that becomes very hard when you have different gym setups all around the world and and you're trying to make it all inclusive. But I think maybe that's one of the problems with the professionalization of the sport is that for a long time, and maybe still, we're trying to create universal, communal involvement and then also a professional sport. But you don't see like a sport like golf, anybody can play a professional level course, but if they're getting a course ready for a major, they lengthen the tees, they grow out the rough, they bring the fairways in and they make it ready for professionals. So I think you could do the same thing by having a professional division, because in a professional division, everybody that's competing as a professional probably has a gym with all the things set up that they could have some sort of hey, if you want to compete in the sport and online qualifiers, this is the equipment you need and this is the setup that you need.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good step in the right direction. And then you separate out the community one where it'd be like, do whatever you want. And then that way it doesn't necessarily need to be exactly the same for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are really good points. I also like that the field is getting a little smaller on some of these competitions, which just makes it more manageable to run. And with a smaller field, you can just do a better job overall. That's not to say I like when it's 30 people, 50 people at certain sanctionals because I want people to get in there, but it's not always separating like the true elite from like the rest of the major field. And I think having the top 15, like the true best 15 in there is like awesome because it's just easy to digest, easy to pay attention to everyone that's there. And they're all like,
professionalizing the judging, I think is just huge. I don't know how you could do that in something like the Open, but it makes the sport a lot more legit.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think something like they even said they have their judges, but then they're also going to go through video review afterwards. It would be nice to have some sort of a legitimate process for that. I mean, I know when we ran the Quarantine Classic, we tried to figure out how do you have an official leaderboard with people that actually are posting videos and actually showing that they did the work as opposed to just, it's very easy to, count a round wrong or you're doing double unders and you do 5 less because you're counting differently in your head than what reality is. So it'd be nice to have some sort of a system like they had. I know you can't do that on a massive scale if you have 200,000 people competing, but it would be nice to have some sort of professionalization, which I think they did a good job of.
Yeah, for sure. It was fun to watch. I think it was a good breath of fresh air in the competitive community, just having something right now, because it's been a while.
Yeah.
And I hopefully other companies, organizations that run events will step up and start doing some similar things just to get athletes more opportunities and avenues to get back to competing right now.
Yeah.
Cool. What else you guys want to add? Anything about Noah's prep or Will's prep leading into this invitational?
Yeah, so I'll start with Will. Will's prep was really good up until 2 weeks out, and Will has had a series of injuries in the sport of CrossFit. It's not a
Wilbur.
secret. Yeah. He tweaked his back 2 weeks out from the event. So his preparation for the 2 weeks leading up into the competition was not good. And he was basically just trying to reestablish function at that point.
Yeah.
So him going into that event, he was definitely not in the right headspace, but he also with all the stuff going on in the sport was kind of just I don't know when I'm going to get to compete again. I want to try to go out there and do what I can.
Yeah.
Which I think he did, but that's really the sum of what I could say about his prep. For Noah, right when the quarantine hit, for somebody this happened to all of us, but for somebody whose entire well-being is on in-person competitions and being in places with a bunch of people and being in the gym, it really kind of rocked him to the core. And we decided at that point that he would do our online training program. And basically that was the bulk of his training leading in. And I think it was good. We did the Quarantine Classic, which gave him some competitive stuff. We do the Throwdown every Saturday, which is a online qualifier style workout. So you get to do a workout at home with a demo with a little bit of lead time on what the workout is, and then have a leaderboard. So I think while his fitness might not have been in the peak form, I think his competitive headspace was definitely in really good form. And that's pretty much what we did with his preparation. So I'm sure that we're going to do a lot of that moving forward. He'll definitely do a big portion of the design. I don't know moving forward, how much other ancillary stuff will need to be done to prep him for comp. But
yeah, I was going to say, doing the throwdowns reminds me so much of doing these events. And I'm thinking we have a guy, Brendan Willis. He's not a member of the design, but he comes in and part of the community and does the throwdowns a lot. And I hope it was like really helpful for him preparing for this event. He did the Rogue Invitational as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, the point being, the throwdowns are something that like just once a week it's proving time and time again to be something super helpful to keep your competitive edge almost year round.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing it for a year now. I think we were on episode 52, so it's over a year, but 52 is a year's worth of them.
Yeah, 'cause we had the open in there too.
Oh yeah, we had the open, so we did it through the open. But I know for me too, like as a recreational competitor, some of getting better at this sport is just dealing with the discomfort of a new workout, an anxious feeling ahead of time of how this is going to feel, how many people are going to beat me on this, like just the whole experience that comes with just stepping into a competitive platform. And that has been super beneficial for my psyche to find like joy in the competitive process. So it's not necessarily just, hey, I want to be a elite competitor, which obviously that can give you some of the tools that you need to do that and practice doing it. But I think also just a community of people that are competing to get after it.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't meant to be an episode that turns into talking about the throwdown again, but
we already did that on a full episode.
But what is fun about it to me is each week it's basically my opportunity to just play. And like regardless of what shape I feel like I'm in, like I kind of know that going into the weekend. Like, all right, I'm not my best right now. I'm kind of tired, but like whatever, it's still just a time to like talk trash, get on the board. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. And as a final throwdown point, since Mia pointed out that she beat me in all the open workouts and handstand push-ups, recently I beat you in a handstand push-up dominated throwdown workout.
I guess.
How do you feel about that?
You beat me in one out of the past, 15 workouts?
Whatever. I'll just take my wins and forget my losses.
Man, awesome. You guys have anything else you want to add from the event?
No, I think just thank you to all the athletes for stepping up and doing that. Thank you to all Rogue and whoever was involved in throwing that competition. I feel like it gives us hope that the sport will continue pandemic wise, and regardless of what's happening in CrossFit, I think it was a good morale boost for a company that spends a lot of time prepping people for the sport and who fell in love with the sport. It was just a really good break and time to come together and have everyone focused on the same thing. So
I missed watching competition. I missed it so much. I'm so glad it was
fun to
back.
have something to turn on. Well done.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys.